Board of Public Works meeting for Thursday, May 19th. I'll call the meeting to order. We have enough members present for a quorum. Item number 2 is approval of the minutes of the May 2nd, 2022 Board of Public Works meeting. Motion by Mr. Fisher, second by Mr. Fire. Any comments or questions? All in favor of approving the minutes, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Anyone opposed? Seeing none, that motion carries. Item 3 is citizen comments. Do we have any citizens this evening who wish to comment? Any citizens? All city employees, but they're still citizens if you want to comment. Seeing none, we'll move on to item 4, which is the construction update presented by Chris Hawley, Street Superintendent, and Tom Turchi, City Engineer.
Well, thank you, and good evening, everybody. Looking back at my notes from last year, we had started about 2 to 3 weeks earlier than last year than this year, just due to the cold, wet spring. And it seems like we went from 34 degrees to 92 and 91 degrees in one day. So we went from winter to summer, but our guys got a really good start. So this is my first 2022 construction update. So with that, our crack filling of our asphalt maintenance, we got that done this spring. We're completed with that for now. We will resume that in the fall as time and weather permit. Our asphalt rejuvenation maintenance is the contract is signed, and we're just waiting to get on the schedule for those guys. Crack filling the concrete maintenance has to be scheduled yet. Actually, in-house, we're talking about seeing if we can do that process ourselves. We've been experimenting with our saw to see if we can do that ourselves, and so far the initial trials seems like that might be something we'd be able to do ourselves and not have to contract that out. So moving right along, asphalt mill in place projects, Cleveland and Cedar. The guys are working on Grant and Franklin right now. And as they're down there, they this winter we removed the trees that needed to be removed on those projects, and we stripped the topsoil on that. So that's going rather well. Asphalt Overlay, I know on my schedule here, I have it to be scheduled when I wrote this up. Actually, we'll be going there on Monday. That's Apple between Daggy and Becker. Everything's located. We started sawing actually out there already, so we'll be going full blown on that stretch starting Monday. Grant, Peach to Cedar, the water main is completed on that project. We moved in and are doing sanitary extension out there. What's unique about there is we're hitting some bedrock, so we had to get some different type of equipment to hammer the bedrock out to get the sanitary sewer line in the right depth. Franklin, we actually went there first with the sanitary crew, and they actually are done with the extensions on that project and any storm sewer maintenance that needed to get done before we rebuild the road on that one. So that's all completed. Most of our snow plow damage is completed already. And from the winter forestry operations where we remove trees, all of that has been seeded and topsoiled. Some of the miscellaneous work that we've got done so far, we got a good round of patching in already, 14th and Oak. If you guys remember from last fall, there was a lady who stopped in here and was concerned about that. And we just ran out of time last fall, but that was the first one that we did. So that 14th and Oak on 14th is got a nice asphalt patch on it now. We've done a dozen catch basin repairs. What usually happens with those as they age, the old concrete rings that are holding up the catch basins, those rot out and they start to fall in and form holes. Got a dozen of those done. With the forestry operations, sometimes the trees disturb the sidewalk. So we've replaced about 700 feet of sidewalk from the forestry operations also. If you guys haven't noticed, up on McMillan and Central, be on the east side of Central, there was a big patch that we did there. And we did some experimental crack filling there. We have a couple different test sections that we're going to monitor throughout this year and for years to come to see what product would work best for some concrete crack filling. So I did get a call last week. There was a sinkhole that developed on 2nd Street right in front of a community center. There was a catch basin repair there, and we got that finished up, and it actually got paved this afternoon too, so that's all done. With that, things are moving right along, right into the busy construction season already. So if anybody has any questions or concerns, I'd be more than happy to answer them.
Any questions or comments? Chris? Okay.
All right, as we go into the construction update for engineering division, I have a video that was flown by David Bueller, our GIS coordinator, with his own equipment, and this is currently East 17th Street from Peach Avenue to Maple Avenue. Wanted to get a picture of this before and during and after for you guys. Right now, this project is going pretty well. We're working on the portion from Vine Avenue to Peach Avenue, which is phase one. The gas main relocation is scheduled to be done either by tonight or tomorrow morning. Storm sewer should be completed by next Tuesday. Then they're going to start grading here the week of the 19th and hopefully start getting some gravel in on this first section. So things are moving along pretty good, and we discussed possibly even and the discussions we're talking about possibly getting some curb and gutter even possibly installed by the 1st or 2nd of June. So we'll start seeing this portion of the project move along pretty quickly. And then they can progress into stage 2, which is the west portion. But that's what I have for you right now. If you want to just watch the video, and if you have any questions for that, we can answer those. We are working on the plan review for Green Acres and hoping to have that out for bids here shortly, so that we can begin that project also for that subdivision.
Go ahead, Adam.
Thank you. Just one quick question. Can you remind me when did you say this section would be completed by?
The contract has it being completed by and open to traffic by July 7th.
All right, thank you.
Any other questions for Tom?
The only other thing that may not be included with that completion would be installing the trees. We might leave the trees out till after the fair and then put them in at the end of the project so they don't get damaged.
There should be. Music.
I'd have to look up the copyright laws on doing something like that. So this is the phase 2 portion of the project where we're going west of Vine Avenue. And you can kind of see they got storage of materials on the fairgrounds property. The fence is down. They have a temporary fence up in place to assist the fair, as we need the fence out of the way in order to get the power poles moved and get ready for installation of sidewalk and some of the parking lot work that we're doing in conjunction with the fairgrounds property. And as you recall, this section of, which is the first block between Cedar and Maple, has got a very narrow right-of-way, so we actually have a narrower street pavement here. And the road width is different than the rest of the roadway because of the narrow right-of-way that we have to work with. And if you notice off to the south of the barn and such, the fairgrounds is working with Earth Incorporated to use some of the excess fill material down there and actually fill some of the site to the south.
Probably not enough to fill in all the low spots in the fairgrounds.
All right, we'll end there and put it back.
Okay, any further questions for Tom or Chris? Item number 5 is approval of purchase of tandem axle truck with snow plow for the street department, presented by Chris Hawley.
It looks like I'm really gonna have to up my construction report game here, because Tom's really had some nice visuals there. Okay, this is kind of an unusual request tonight, for being that this truck is actually planned for a 2024 purchase. But I want to explain to you exactly what's going on and how we're dealing with supply chain issues, inflation, and workforce shortages. If we remember Alderman Fisher and Fire were on the board at the time in February, we purchased the same truck for a 2023 purchase. In the last 2 to 3 months, we were contacted by our local dealership that they're seeing unprecedented price increases. The chassis alone has gone up $3,200, just over $3,200. But believe it or not, the Salter snowplow package has gone up $12,000 just because of the price of the steel and stainless steel. So both local dealers called us and let us know and asked us if we had any future purchases, and we do have one for 2024 to replace another 18-year-old tandem axle truck. The dealerships are now given a quota of about the amount of vehicles that they can actually order. And right now, his quota is filled, but he's reserving a spot for the city of Marshfield. This chassis would be put in the factory for an early fourth quarter build in 2023 and delivered in the first quarter of 2024. So this would be still a 2024 purchase. And that was one of the questions Jennifer had asked me too after I wrote this memo up. Monroe would actually purchase the snowplow package and the Salter right away after we get done with this to keep costs down, and they would actually store it until it was time to build that machine. So what I'm asking here tonight, which is rather unusual, but as we're seeing, most builds for chassis are out 14 to 18 months anyway. I'm recommending that the board approve the purchase of the tandem axle dump truck from Midstate Truck and snowplow package Salters from Monroe Truck Equipment for $246,802.86. Now, if you look back at the February memo, at that time, I do believe it was just over $260,000 for the same package. But what we found out from Monroe was we could save the core stainless steel box and save a lot of money by reusing the stainless steel box on that Salter. So it's a little bit less, but prices have gone up extremely in the last couple months alone. And I don't foresee an ending in it in the very near future.
Dan?
Yeah, Chris confirmed this, if I'm correct on this, but we don't actually pay for this till we take delivery. So we
Correct.
order it now, lock in the price, but the payment doesn't come until 2024.
Mr. Fisher?
Thank you, Chair. So with prices on the rise, from the sounds of it, what other pieces of equipment are end of life? I mean, I'm assuming you keep a list.
Yes, and I'll present that tonight. Each for the 5-year plan, we have a 5-year plan of pieces of equipment. Right now, we have a 2023 purchase for a end loader that we are trying to lock in some prices right now for that also.
And okay, so you're a step ahead of me because that was going to be my question.
Yep.
Can we lock in prices and
Yes.
still pay, a year out so that we know we can get?
Yeah, the local dealership people around here have been fantastic to work with. Just knowing that his quota was filled and called us up and, hey, I'm saving one for you guys if you want to get in, because he can't guarantee. And it's not even a guarantee that tonight would be a positive step in at least securing that spot in that 2023 build.
All right,
Or
thank you.
2020, late quarter of 2023.
Mike, anything? Okay, the recommended action is to approve the purchase of the tandem axle dump truck from Midstate and the snowplow package and salters from Monroe Truck. Motion by Mr. Fire, second by Mr. O'Reilly. For any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Anyone opposed? Seeing none, that motion carries. Item 6 is the approval and proposed revisions to Chapter 15, the Building Code of the Municipal Code, presented by Dan Connect, Director of Public Works.
Thank you. I've been working with Pat Kilty and our inspectors on updating a few sections of Chapter 15. Remember, we just recently updated the plumbing code, and there are some changes here that will mirror what we did with the plumbing code. Just hit on the highlights here. So first, in section 1505, there was an exemption of permit requirements for re-roofing a residential structure. Basically, if you were re-shingling your house, you didn't need a permit. We did implement a fee for that last fall, but the ordinance hadn't been changed to remove that exemption. This would remove the exemption and now require a permit for re-shingling. You might ask why, and a couple of reasons that have come to light. First, the record keeping side, it's not uncommon for somebody buying a house to check in on building permits and what activities occurred on the house, and they will ask, how old is the roof? And we don't have records on how old the roof is on a house. So this will help us keep accurate records in that way. Second, with older homes, not all re-roofing is being done according to code. There's a limit of how many times you can re-roof over layers of shingles. I believe it's just one time. And we're finding that some people try to do that more often, and that shouldn't be done. And then the third reason is that more and more common, you're seeing steel roofs going on residential structures. And while they're not complicated, there are some nuances that make them a little more complicated than just your standard shingled roof, and they really should be inspected as they put on. So we've gone to this and recommend the change to requiring permits for re-roofing residential structures. We're adding an exemption for alterations, small remodeling, 1,000 square feet in I occupancy. That's institutional, your clinic and hospital settings when they have small office remodelings of less than 1,000 square feet, when those plans are reviewed by the Department of Health Services. So there's a state agency reviewing those. We wouldn't require a permit for those small remodels. The next section in 1509 talks about certificate of occupancy. Add a penalty provision that if somebody does try to occupy before they have a temporary certificate or the official certificate of occupancy, that would or could result in a citation. It doesn't happen often, but once in a while, someone likes to try to sneak in before the space is ready. The third change is on the Board of Appeals. This is a similar language that we put in the plumbing code. If there is a direction of an inspector that owner wants to appeal, the previous language had reference to a an appeals committee, which was different than our zoning board of appeals. The attorney has suggested that we already have a zoning board of appeals. Let's just refer to that section in the code and that the appeals committee. And then finally, we do have a property maintenance code, and we're amending some references in that section of property standards. So the recommended action is to approve these changes and forward it to the common council for council consideration.
Mr. O'Reilly.
I'm kind of curious, what was the purpose of creating the exemption for the spaces, for instance, like up at the clinic versus doing the same for across the board? You know, whether it be residential, any of those.
I think the key here is that the state agency is reviewing those. Yeah, and that other uses typically don't have outside agency reviewing them, so that our local staff would be reviewing.
Any other questions? The recommended action is to approve the updated municipal code, chapter 15, and direct staff to prepare an ordinance for common council approval. Anyone want to make a motion to that effect? Mr. Fire makes a motion, Mr. O'Reilly seconds. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Anyone opposed? Seeing none, that motion carried. Item number 7 is approval of a contract extension with B&M Utility Locating Service Incorporated, presented by Dan Connect, Director of Public Works.
Thank you. Some of you will recall that we bid out this service in 2020, and we selected B&M Locating Services through that competitive process. That initial term of the contract expired at the end of 2021, which got away from us a little bit that had expired already. But the contract does provide for 2 one-year extensions or renewals. We've been satisfied with the performance of B&M. We actually had a meeting with them this afternoon to discuss some minor issues with them, and they're on board for another season, and they've been able to maintain staff, which is a good thing. So we are suggesting that we extend their contract through the end of 2022. The RFP process back in 2020 did give us pricing for this 3rd year. And so that there are some small increases that are part of that original contract, and those are already in effect as they have been locating for us. So we would recommend approval of a 1-year renewal with B&M Locating, and that would extend the contract through December 31, 2022. We do have on the calendar now to have this extension reviewed this fall before the expiration date. Assuming a satisfactory season with them, looking at final renewal option this fall. So with that, I recommend approval of the extension.
Motion by Mr. O'Reilly, second by Mr. Fisher. Any comments or questions? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? No one's opposed, so that motion carries. Item number 8 is recommended items for future agendas. Anybody have anything? Staff have anything? Okay. Then we'll take a motion for adjournment. Motion by Mr. Fisher, second by Mr. Fire. We're adjourned.